All right, Ted Kettler, you are on Driven to Ride. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate the invite, man. I really do.
Yeah, this is great. Spoil it a little bit, a fellow podcaster. Always nice to have one there.
Oh,
and you sound great.
Well, thank you.
So thank you for that.
I've got a face for radio. That's what they say.
Don't we all? Which is really fun with the video part of the podcast. So everybody all the mystery is gone, you know.
Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah.
So, but I'll let you have the floor. Can you tell me what most people know you for, or maybe what your claim, or in your case, probably claims to fame would be?
Fame. Well, I am the host of the Motorcycle Men podcast. We just passed our 10th anniversary. We have now 426 episodes. Yeah, 426 episodes. And I like to call it a weekly, bi-weekly podcast, whereas we'll do bi-weekly shows. And then usually in between I do an interview show, but the past couple months have been difficult. So we have things going on in the family. So things have been kind of difficult. But yeah, generally we're a weekly podcast, very weekly. And that's it. I am also the, I don't know if you want to call it a host, but I have the Ride with Ted YouTube channel. That's my other thing. And I've recently published a book called The Road Most Traveled. So so that's if that's claims to fame, I guess that's what they are.
Well, congratulations on 10 years in podcasting.
Well,
I mean, that's no joke.
No, it's you know what? It's been 10 very fast years. I never would have imagined the podcast would have been still going in 10 years, but you know what? It's like a bad habit. You just can't give it up.
Sure. And with your podcast, one of your co-hosts, I believe, is your brother.
Actually, two of them are my brothers. I got two brothers on the show, and then we have a close friend on the show.
Okay. So, I mean, it's basically like hanging out with family every week.
Pretty much. You know, the thing is, like, I used to live in New Jersey. In fact, my brother Tim and I both lived in New Jersey. And of course, my brother Chris is still in New Jersey. And that is where our fourth co-host is, Justin. He's also in New Jersey. And I moved to North Carolina 3.5 years ago, and my brother Tim did as well. And so now the podcast is pretty much remote all the time. But it was so we got to see each other like all the time. And then, of course, now we do the podcast remote. So we generally talk to each other every single day anyway, whether it's because of the podcast, because we're just having conversations, or because we're gaming, you know. So we're always talking to each other, so it doesn't matter. Yeah.
It's probably a little easier to keep up that way when you're kind of talking regularly anyway.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You know, not that the conversations rarely ever revolve around motorcycles, but most of our conversations these days revolve around, mom, because we've been having issues with mom right now. She's in and out of the hospital. So that's been keeping us pretty busy for the past couple months.
Gotcha. Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. It's such as life, right?
Yeah. Well, let's talk about, before we talk about Motorcycle Men podcast, let's talk about you and how you started motorcycling. Can you tell me how you first got into it?
Oh dear. This is a really weird, I don't know if it's a weird story, but it's just a rather unexpected story. Way back when, me and my brother Tim, we were, I was thinking I might have been 13 or 14 years, maybe 13 years old. And Tim was, 10, 11. My mom and dad were divorced. So my dad came to pick us up to have us for the weekend. And so we're all dressed in our Sunday best, visiting dad, and the dad's going, come on, we're going to go visit some friends. So we went up to this place up with some friends they had up in New York. It's a little town called Croton on Hudson. And these folks, they had dirt bikes. Mm-hmm. So they said, come on, let's go. We're going to go ride motorcycles. I know you guys ever done this. And we were like, no. We're like, okay. So off we went to this, I want to call it a gravel pit, but it was this massive amount of acreage, just barren land where there were dirt bike trails everywhere. And they threw me on this they threw me on this motorcycle. I said, here's how you use the clutch. Here's how you use the throttle. And this is what you do. And here you go. And they put my brother on the smaller one, and off we went. And here I am on my Sunday best driving around on a dirt bike through this, on these trails. And, I must have stalled the bike a gazillion times, but that was my introduction to motorcycling. And I always thought, like, okay, this is kind of fun. I kind of like this. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, and then of course my uncle, my mother's brother, he had a Sportster. We're talking mid 60s. He had an early Sportster, and he would come to visit. And I was like, man, that's cool. So yeah, that was my introduction.
So was it fair to say that you were hooked from the start, from that first?
Yeah, it's like I didn't care for the dirt bike aspect of it too much, because I felt like I don't know what the hell I'm doing, first of all. And looks like a lot of opportunities for me to really like do some serious damage to myself, which I kind of find ironic that I would think that, because years later I would love to go mountain biking, and I still do. In a sport where you can get really hurt if you're not paying attention. I definitely was hooked at that point. I think my uncle had a lot to do with it too, because I would see him ride the Sportster, and I would think, man, I would really like that. Mom and dad were like, no, no, you're not going to do that.
So they weren't exactly for it.
No. It's like, well, my uncle, he was like the one of the black sheep of the family. He would do all the things that nobody wanted him to do, or that nobody would even think of doing. So so that was like my kind of like introduction. I mean, I had an earlier introduction into motorcycling many years prior to that.
Okay.
I was, oh my God, this is going way back. I think I might've been 5 or 6 years old, maybe 5 years old. And this is back in the day, we're talking early 60s now. I'm an old fart. So we're talking early 60s. And I can remember standing on the front seat in my mother's car, and we were at a traffic light. I saw like seatbelts. What? Standing on the seat, hanging out the window? What? Yeah.
Safest way to be.
Safest way to travel. So I'm standing on the seat, and I'm leaning out the door, and the lane next to us, I think my mother's car was I want to say, if I recall correctly, it was a pink and white Ford Fairlane, like a 56 or 57. Okay. So yeah, cool car. So I'm standing on the seat, and this motorcycle pulls up next to us in the next lane. And I was like, oh, wow, what's that? And my mother said, that's a Harley-Davidson. And I remember it was turquoise and white, and it was just going bumbling, like rumbling like that. And then the light turned green, and he took off, and I was like, wow, that's cool. And from that moment on, I was all about the Harley-Davidson, And so like when my uncle would show up on his Harley-Davidson, I was like, yeah, wow, cool. So, that's where, it kind of got ingrained in my brain at that point. I wanted to do something with Harley-Davidson.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, that's pretty instrumental. I mean, considering you've got, the childhood memory, and then you've got, the black sheep uncle, but who's probably also like the cool uncle, right? Because
he was the cool uncle. He was the cool uncle. Absolutely.
How did you first get introduced to street riding then?
Well, it was my uncle with that. But I mean, when I got my first, riding on the road, I was in the Navy, and I wanted a motorcycle. I wanted a Harley. As I got older, from that moment with my uncle and all that, when I see him on his bike, as the years went by, not even going through high school, I wanted to get a motorcycle in high school. I wasn't allowed to, but eventually when I joined the Navy, and I was stationed down in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. And this is back when Guantanamo was an actual functioning military installation. I mean, it is now, but it was more so back then. Okay. And a guy on the base, he was in the barracks. He was selling his motorcycle. He had a Yamaha TC 125. He was selling it because he was shipping out. So I said, yeah, I'll buy it from you. So for $400, I bought this bike when I really shouldn't have. on this thing because I knew squat about motorcycles, and I never really took the time to learn. Right. But I had that bike for about a year, and it had issues. It had a bad clutch. It had problems with the carburation, because that thing would stall out all the time. It was just sitting there. It was running really horrible, but I did what I could. I tinkered with it, and I ended up selling it for what I paid for it, months later. So that was that. I guess if you want to call that's my introduction to street riding, but I didn't even have a license. I didn't have an endorsement for motorcycle then. I didn't, I would just tool around on the base a little bit, locally around the barracks and stuff like that to go from point A to point B, but I wasn't really authorized to really actually ride it. So, but I didn't actually get my first road bike until many, many years later. I finally got my endorsement. Oh my God. It was like 12 years later. I finally got my endorsement after I was out of the service. I finally got my endorsement on a Honda Goldwing. Yeah.
Wow.
So from that point, then it was just me wanting to get, I had this dream of getting a Sportster. Back then you could get a brand new Sportster for like $3,500.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little different now.
That's way gone now. But yeah, I had this dream. I wanted to get a Sportster, throw on a backpack, and just ride across the country. That's what I wanted to do. But I would look at my wallet, and my wallet would go, yeah, right. You're not doing that. So that was my introduction to street riding. I really wanted to get that. But I had my endorsement, but I didn't actually get my first real motorcycle until 2004.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And I was, I bartered services. In other words, because this guy I worked for him part-time. Actually, I worked for him full-time first. Then I went working for him part-time, and he had a 94 Sportster XL 883. He bought it brand new. It's like, this is back in the day when if you wanted a Harley, you had to order it, and it would take, a year to 2 years before you got it. Wow. I don't know if you remember those days, but this is back in the early 90s. So he ordered this Sportster, and like almost 18 months later, they said, your bike is in, and he went and got it. So, and I was like, wow, this is okay, great, man. It's a good looking bike. It was really cool. And he rode it sparingly at best.
Okay.
And over the course of 10 years during his ownership, I went from working full-time with him to working part-time. And then I was working part-time in the office one day, and every time I would come in, I say, how's the Sportster? He goes, oh, it's got a flat, the battery's dead, or the lights aren't working, or whatever. And it's like, why? He goes, well, I didn't ride it. So it's been, so I always just said to him, hey, look, if you ever want to give it a good home, just let me know. I have a great place for it. I got a great house. I can, So eventually one day he comes to me, he goes, all right, so how long would you work for me for free, and I give you the Harley? So we did some little figuring, and like this. Okay. So look, 18 months. So for 18 months, I'll work with you for nothing. And I was working with him like 3 days a week for on average about 3 or 4 hours of time. All right. So I would work for you for 18 months. So he says you can do that, and you can have the bike. And he goes, I said, okay, yeah, let's do it. Okay. He says, you just got to come down to Delray Beach and get it. So I drove, so I said, cool beans. And, we came up with a deal, and then I got in my truck and my pickup, and I drove down to Delray Beach, picked up the Sportster, brought it back to New Jersey, and then immediately dropped it off at the Harley dealer and told them service it and fix it, whatever's wrong. And it wasn't much, really. It was just the battery, and it had to be just given, tuned up basically. And that was it. And then I had that bike for 10 years. I rode it for 10 years. Yeah. And it was, I got it with, now mind you, it was 16. It was 10 years old when I got it. And I got it with 1,600 miles on it.
It's like an average of 160 miles a year. Wow.
So in the 10 years that I had it, I put on almost 11,000 miles. Is that right? That doesn't sound right. because I sold it with 16,000 and change on it. Yeah, so yeah, just almost 11,000 miles I put on it. Yeah. So
yeah, not bad.
And yeah, it was all right. I mean, it was just I wasn't a wintertime driver. I was basically new, and I would ride it every chance I had.
Mm-hmm.
But so that was my first real, I guess, introduction to road bike I had. Yeah, love that bike.
Yeah.
Wish
well, then, so what are you riding now?
I have two bikes now. I've graduated. I picked up in 2014, I picked up a 2003 Harley-Davidson Heritage Classic 100th anniversary model.
Mm-hmm.
And upon getting that, I sold the Sportster. So, which I wish I didn't do. But then 2 years ago, was it 2 years ago? Yeah, it was 2 years ago. I picked up a 100th anniversary 2003 Sportster 1200. So they're matching colors. It's the same. So I ride the Heritage a lot more than the Sportster, of course. But yeah, the Heritage is my good girl. I've had her for 11 years now. Yeah, it's 11 years I've had her. Yeah.
Is that the bike you took on the trip for the Road Most Traveled?
Oh, yes, it is. It is. She's named Sugar, and Sugar has. I've taken Sugar all over the place. Yeah, she's. I haven't done the gazillion miles like a lot of other guys do, and done a lot of these other fantastic trips that a lot of these other guys have done that are out there. But the trips for me, the trips that I've done on Sugar are super memorable, and I have a lot of great memories on this bike. And I have no intention of ever getting rid of it ever.
Mm-hmm.
So,
you're emotionally bonded now.
Yeah, in more ways than one. It's I've got a lot of heart and soul in that bike, so yeah, I won't depart with that. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the Road Most Traveled.
Yeah.
What prompted you to want to write this book?
You know what's funny is that when I set off on this trip, I never intentionally said, okay, well, I'm going to go on this trip and I'm going to write a book about it. Mm-hmm. That wasn't the case. I mean, I do keep a journal, a daily journal. And it was just as I'm going on this trip, doing everything that I had to do and going on a trip, I said, you know what? Maybe I should just make a book out of this. Cause I like I said, as part of my journaling every day, I kept notes of everything that I did and everything I saw and heard and smelled. Everything, I kept notes. I said, this might be a pretty good book. Let me just see what I can put together. And wow. It came together. It took time, but it came together.
Yeah. Well, tell me about the trip. When did you start? Where did you go? And why'd you call it the Road Most Traveled?
Well, you know what it is. I at the time I lived in New Jersey, and I was my wife and I we own a timeshare down in the Florida Keys. So cool. One year I just thought, what would you think if I rode the bike there and I met you there? And she goes, yeah, if you want to, it's up to you, basically. So I was like, okay. There was a series of misadventures that led up to it. I mean, when I first had the notion to ride down, very shortly thereafter, I had a major, not a accident or anything, but the bike needed a major overhaul. The thing about the twin cam 88, which is in this bike, it had a little quirk, a little thing called the cam chain tensioners. I don't know if you're familiar with the twin cam 88, but with the twin cam 88, these little plastic cam chain tensioners that basically kept the bike timing in check. The flaw would be that they would get ground down to nothing, and then the timing and everything would just go haywire. And in some cases, pieces of the plastic would get caught in the oil path and cause the engine to seize in some cases. So This was a condition that Harley didn't realize until after a couple thousand bikes had to start rolling in with engine failures and problems like that. It would happen anywhere between 5,000 and maybe 50,000 miles. This would happen. So, as I explain in the book, one day I started hearing this noise and I was like, what's this noise I'm hearing now? And as it turns out, it was my cam chain tensioners were going. And after doing some research and figuring out what I had to do, I opened up the cam chest and I saw that these little plastic doodads were practically gone. So
Oof.
I knew that this had to get fixed. Interesting thing about it, it's for the trained professional. I'm told that you can do this in 3 or 4 hours. Done on the lift and off, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a trained professional. So I actually, I wanted to just like give it to a deal, said, please fix it,
Yeah.
But I just didn't have the money for that. So what I ended up doing was I educated myself. I bought tools. I did everything I had to do, and I did the work myself. Wow. And it's funny because I got some of the replacement, and I tell the story about this in the book, what led up to everything. But the short of it is the cam chain tensioners is not so much the problem as it was the cam chains themselves. Harley-Davidson, apparently at some point, I learned this later on, but at some point, Harley-Davidson was getting their cam chains from a different vendor, and the vendor didn't polish the chains. So what that means is as the cam chains would run over these plastic shoes, it would just basically just rip them apart because they weren't polished. So when I got the the parts and I put the bike back together and it ran, the problem is I didn't get new chains. I just got new cam chain tensioners. And eventually what happened was, even despite the fact that I got the new tensioners within 2,500 miles of it, even after I fixed it, 2,500 miles later, they failed again.
Oh,
so once again, I contacted the manufacturer of the cam chain tensioners and I said, this is what happened. And you just sent me these brand new parts. And Hard Drive, the company that sent them to me, they said they wanted to make it right. And they sent me all new parts and they paid to have Harley-Davidson fix it.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was very nice of them. And that was great support. So and the bike was on the lift I had the bike on the lift at home initially. It was on the lift for 3 months. And then Harley-Davidson got it, basically like 2 months later, and they had it on their lift for, about a week. And then they fixed it. And then I said, okay, now I'm going to ride down to the Keys. So
yeah, it's a heck of a start.
Yeah. I mean, it really was. And like, I was like, you sure you want to do this? Cause you just had the bike fixed. I'm like, I'm going for it. I'm doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the trip. And the thing is, I spent an agonizing amount of time researching the best way to go, from New Jersey down to the Florida Keys, the obvious route is let's just take I-95 all the way down. And Interstate 95 is the longest north-south interstate in the country. And I think it's I think I wrote it. I think it's the second longest interstate overall in the country. Wow. So, but I was agonizing over that. Which way should I go? Should I take 95 all the way down, or should I take some ulterior? Because I wanted to miss Baltimore and Washington, D.C. Because if anybody's ever driven that way, you never had the opportunity.
Not great. No, I have. It's not great.
Oh, you have? So
I have.
All right. Yeah. So I wanted to avoid that. And knowing that I'd be leaving on a Friday, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to get traffic. And this was in November, by the way. Right. Mm-hmm. So what I had to do was eventually I spoke with, I don't know if you're familiar with Gloria Tremonton-Struck. Gloria Struck. Mm-hmm. She, at the time, she was 95 and still riding.
Wow. Yeah.
And she's a wonderful woman. I've talked to her several times. She was on the show a couple times. But in talking to her, because she would go to the Daytona Bike Week all the time. And she lives in Jersey also. So she would tell me to just take Route 301, which is like it's another north-south route, but it bypasses all the congestion of Washington and Baltimore. So I ended up going that way. And then I got on 95. And I tell you, you don't, if you ride, that you're going to encounter other people in cars. You're going to encounter trucks. You're going to encounter every kind of driver from all walks of life out there. And in the book, I pretty much introduce everyone to the lunacy that is the United States interstate system. Yeah, it was quite the experience. And the thing is, I've done this trip twice.
Okay.
because I didn't learn the first time.
So yeah, because you ride to the Florida Keys and then you ride back.
Yeah.
So I mean, you get to Florida, you're only halfway there. You still got to figure out the ride back, right?
Well, yeah. The thing is, because I was going on 301. Now, Route 301, generally speaking, is a decent highway. It really is. It takes you some. It's kind of rural for most part, and then you go through your typical, strip mall areas, and then you get through some even more rural areas where there's nothing. And then, of course, you go over some major bridges, big bridges that go over the Chesapeake Bay and Potomac River and a couple other rivers. But the road is a decent road. But if you hit it at the wrong time, you're gonna enjoy hours of traffic. And on this trip, that's what happened to me. I hit all the worst areas. When I say worst areas for traffic, I hit all those areas at the worst possible times. And I lost well over 2 hours of, because like anybody else, you got a GPS and the GPS tells you, well, you're going to get there at this hour. You're going like, right, challenge accepted. I got to beat that time.
It's the high score. I got to beat.
Absolutely. And then when I get caught in this traffic, I'd start, my hopes and dreams of wanting to eat dinner at Cracker Barrel next to the hotel, they start to get dashed really quick when I start seeing the hours tick by and going like, I'm not even out of Virginia yet. Wow. So, yeah. So like I said, taking 301, I got kind of a little disillusioned with it. And I was like, I don't want to do this again. And when I made my plans for the return trip, because I'm an idiot in this way, I got to break out the GPS, I got to break out the laptop, and I go like, okay, which is the best way to go? And I opted to, and I guess a moment of just plain stupidity, I decided to take 95 all the way back.
Oof.
Yeah, to go through Washington and go through Baltimore and do that whole thing. And I regretted that decision, which I outline in the book. I mean, it was just absolutely. Man, oh man. In a car, it's one thing. On a motorcycle, it's a totally different story.
Yeah, I can imagine. I've driven from Washington, D.C. to Annapolis, and that, was not a very long stretch, but that took way longer than it should have.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And you look at that, you go like, oh, it's only 5 miles.
2 hours later, only 5 miles, but it's like, so I can only imagine if that's like the only taste that I got of that kind of traffic. I can't imagine what the whole of I-95 would be. Well,
you know what it is. And the thing is I'll tell you this, that I-95 I'll have to say, well, in my book, I outlined that the world's largest, when the megalopolis stretches from Boston down to Richmond, Virginia. Okay. That's an extremely populated area. That's where a lot of this commerce happens in the United States. It's also where the traffic happens. So you're not going to there's going to be traffic no matter what, but there are moments through that entire stretch going through that area where it's quite sedate. You can put your feet up on highway pegs and just cruise. Well, maybe not in November you can, but once you get past a certain point on I-95 going south, it's a breeze. It really is. You can really zone out, and which I did several times on there. Florida has the longest stretch of Interstate 95. It's like 300 and something miles. And it's not until, well, you've driven through Florida, haven't you? Mm-hmm. Okay. So Florida is perpetually under construction. We all know that. That's forever. Since the dawn of time, before cars, Florida was under construction, and it's going to be under construction forever.
Until the end of time, right?
Until the end of time. And that's one of that I think was the biggest hurdle I encountered on that whole trip, was the traffic from road construction going through Florida, especially when you get down towards Miami and that area there. It just got insane at that point. You know, traffic cones, you know, like I say in the book, on the Florida license plate shows you an orange.
Yeah.
It should actually be a traffic cone.
Just to tell everybody it's a misshapen traffic cone.
Exactly. Yeah, something like that.
I have to imagine, though, getting down to the Keys, because I've driven from Miami down to Key West, and that's a cool drive. Yeah. That's a cool drive. Key West is one of my favorite places. So I have to imagine riding a motorcycle down those bridges and down the Keys, and maybe on the 7 Mile Bridge, I think, has to be nice.
Yeah. It's I love the Keys. I really do. I love the Keys. Go there every year, and I could live there in a heartbeat. You know, no question about it. It's a very laid back. If you've never been to the Florida Keys, go. It's very laid back. Everybody's very chill, and just cruising along those bridges, and you see that turquoise water, and you got those ocean breezes coming at you. It's just you can't. You know, you got fresh ocean air up your nose every moment. You know, it's just wonderful. Some people say don't go there in the summer months because it's just hot and humid. And I go like, yeah, and so, but it's just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, compared to January when it's not hot and humid in the south of Florida.
Well, I mean, I go there, like I said, I go there in November, and it's, you know, you're talking still, you can get 85 degrees there and still a little humid, but I'm like, I don't care. You know? Yeah. I'm in the Keys, right? What else could you ask for?
Yeah, it's a good time down there. I've been down there 3 times, although I've never ridden down there.
No, you know, here's the most pathetic part of it. One of my things about riding in the Keys or riding to the Keys is in Key West, there's a little monument there called the Southernmost Point. And I just wanted to get there. And also there's also the 0 mile marker for US 1 is also there in Key West. And I wanted to just get that memory of having my bike there and having the photograph and all that. And I have yet to make it there. I've ridden.
Well, you got to wait in line.
What's that?
You have to wait in line, because there's like a line of like a dozen people that want to take a picture at the Southernmost and all that.
What's great about a motorcycle is you can just park right on the side of the street and you just take a picture with that thing in your background and you're good.
Fair.
The same thing with the mile 0 marker. You can do the same thing. But I all these trips down there, twice on a motorcycle, and I've never done that. I just like, what's wrong with me?
Got to do it a third time, I guess.
I guess it's going to have to be a third time.
Yeah. Well, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the Motorcycle Men podcast.
Yeah.
How did you start that, and what made you want to start it? Almost 10 years ago now.
Well, you know what it was is I was listening to a lot of podcasts back, 10 years ago. I was listening to the Pace podcast, Motorcycles and Misfits, Cleveland Moto, among others. And I'm not going to say they were hating on Harley-Davidson, but the impression was they didn't care about cruisers or they didn't like the Harley community much. And I was like, it's just kind of unfair, because we're not all idiots and jerks and, like all that. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to start a podcast and we're going to talk cruisers and we're going to talk Harley-Davidsons. And just that was the intended plan. So
yeah, that's your niche.
That was the thing. So I asked my brothers if they'd be interested in participating in this. And for the first 3 years, that's what we did. We talked, we tried to talk motorcycles and Harley-Davidsons and all that. We'd end up talking about everything, but, we'd veer off into topics on lighthouses and whatever. But then 3 years in, I asked Justin, who actually worked at Harley-Davidson at the time. I asked him if he'd be interested in being part of the podcast, and he said yes. So then we became a foursome, and we just been having a good time doing it. It's been a lot of fun, so that's, did I have intentions of it being, to compete with anybody? No, it's not about competing at all. It's just about doing something different. And we were doing something different. We are doing something different,
Yeah. Yeah. You found kind of your niche where you wanted to be, when people weren't talking about, and you decided I'm going to do that.
Yeah, exactly. And we have, we're not skilled mechanics. We don't, know all the ins and outs of everything. And we, me and Justin know just enough to be dangerous with tools that we can, build a bike and rebuild a bike. But we're not out there giving, experienced advice to anybody, but we're just having fun doing what we're doing. We're all about the entertainment. We just want to entertain our audience and just have fun. That's pretty much what we do. Yeah.
What's the biggest compliment that you've gotten from either a listener or somebody that's tuned into your podcast?
Everybody that I get compliments from, they're telling me that they like listening to our podcast because it helps them get through a tough time or a tough day, because they might be having some adversity or something in their life that's going on. And they tune into us because they brighten their day. We brighten their day. We make them laugh. And I like that because, like I said, we're not trying to teach anybody anything new or just give any kind of advice. We want people just to be happy and smile. If we get somebody to laugh, then mission accomplished. That's it. But everybody, one of the things somebody once said to me says, listening to your podcast is like sitting around in the bar and listening to your buddy's bullshit for 90 minutes. And I'm like, thank you. And that's basically what it's all about. And hey, like I said, if we can make people laugh and make somebody smile or brighten somebody's day, mission accomplished.
Yeah, well, that would keep me going for almost 450 episodes. That's a lot, man.
Yeah, dude. Oh my God.
What keeps you going for that amount of time? I mean, that's like you said, over 10 years or just over 10 years now, and
it's for me. Look, it's not. You and I both know that the podcast dollars aren't rolling in, right? It's something I enjoyed. It's a labor of love more than anything. Mm-hmm. And I enjoy doing it. I couldn't be a disc jockey, a radio jock. I couldn't get on a radio. So this is it. This is the closest I'm going to get. And I enjoy doing it. It's a lot of fun. I get to talk to a lot of great people. I've had some wonderful guests on the show, and it's just been really wonderful.
Yeah, that's one of the things
I'll just keep doing it until, like, I've told, how long are you going to do it? And I said, well, they're going to have to pry the microphone out of my dead hands.
I love it. Yeah. I mean, there's so many cool people in the motorcycle world to talk to. And I mean, you could talk to people multiple times and get different stories or catch up with them and what they're doing. I mean, there's always people doing cool stuff in the motorcycle world.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've talked, like I said, to Gloria Struck, a historic figure. She's in the Motorcycling Hall of Fame in Sturgis. Wow. She's one of the founding members of the Motor Maids motorcycle club. And I've talked to Charlie Borman about their trips. Everybody. I've talked to so many manufacturers, business professionals, and comedians and clowns. I talked to everybody.
Yeah, I saw we had a mutual guest or two, Alonzo Bowden. You got to talk to?
Yeah, Alonzo's been on the show. He hates to admit it, but he's been on the show 4 times. Wow. And he's always a welcome guest on the podcast. And I've been meaning to, when we have our 500th show, I'm definitely going to have Alonzo back on. He's always a pleasure to have on the show.
Yeah. Do you have any big plans for the 500th?
We've talked about it, and the thing is, we're definitely going to get together. We'd like to get together every now and then. The 4 of us meet in the same place, and we'll do a live show. When I say a live show, I mean live in that we're all in the same room. We've talked about doing a party for our 500th at like one of the local Elks clubs that the guys belong to, and having a big old party and something like that. But it's all about coordination and getting everything together. And we're still thinking about it and planning about it. We may just end up getting together and just do a solo thing, like we usually do. That's it. But outside of that, we don't really have anything planned. Whatever happens, happens.
We'll just have to wait and see.
You'll just have to wait and see. Of course.
Well, talking about your brothers, it sounds like you're the oldest.
I am. Yes.
And were you the bad influence that got them into motorcycles then, or did they find it on their own?
I think I might have been an influence. Chris is the youngest. He's always wanted to be on the bike. Tim is my next youngest brother to me. He may have gotten into it because we got into it. But yeah, I guess I don't want to say I'm a bad influence. I mean, I certainly hope not. But yeah, no, they all made up their own mind to do it. You know, to get their. It took them a while. I mean, I don't think they got their endorsements until probably about 12 years ago. Yeah, it's probably about 12 years ago they got their endorsements. Yeah.
Have you guys been able to take like a trip all together?
Yes. I mean, we went to the Americade motorcycle rally up in upstate New York. And have you ever been?
No, I've heard good things though.
Oh, it's a great rally. It really is. It really is a great rally. It's right on Lake George in upstate New York. Anybody who's ever been knows that the riding in upstate New York is just beautiful. You know, it's kind of like some people compare it to the riding at the Laconia bike rally, but I've never been to Laconia, but the riding in upstate New York is just fantastic. It's a lot of ups and downs and twisty turns and stuff like that. It's just gorgeous riding. But yeah, we rode from New Jersey up there. It's like, I think one way was like 250 something miles, but that was the longest trip we've ever done together. It was like, we did that 2 years in a row, and that was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun at that. Yeah.
Nice. Aside from your trips for the road most traveled, do you have a trip that stands out in your mind as a favorite?
Well, 2 years ago, I retired 2 years ago. Is it 2 years now? God, it is 2 years. Holy crap. But I retired 2 years ago. And that year I kind of committed myself to go to Sturgis. And I always wanted to go, but it's kind of like everybody wants to go to Sturgis, but it comes down to money and time. Well, as I retired, well, now I got the time. So now it's about the money. And seeing how I sold a piece of property in 2022, I had the money. So I said, well, let me go. So I made a plan, and originally I wasn't sure how I was going to go, but I didn't know if I was going to trailer the bike up or if I was going to ride up. And I ended up deciding to ride out. So I rode from North Carolina to the Sturgis rally and did all the riding I did around there. And then I rode back via Milwaukee to stop at the Harley-Davidson Museum, and then came home from there. So all told, I think it was just over 5,000 miles I did on that trip. The ride out, ride back, and of course the riding when I was there. Yeah, so that was
that's impressive.
Yeah, so it was a fun ride. That was fun.
What did you think of the Sturgis rally?
I've been twice now. I went in 2023 and I went in 2024. And going if you're going solo, which I've done both times, it's okay. It's an interesting experience. I think if I had gone with friends or even the guys on the podcast, I probably would have had a lot more fun because I would have been able to share the experience with somebody else. I met people out there that were friends. I met people out there and stuff, but we didn't necessarily hang out. But what I can say about this, my 2023 trip to Sturgis, the highlight of that trip was the Harley-Davidson Museum in Milwaukee. Wasn't even the rally. You know, it's the rally's an interesting experience. It's an expensive trip. The riding it's really nice riding out there. Anything you want to see, you can see. If the weather is crap, though, I'll tell you this. If the weather is crap, when I say crap, I mean rain. If there's any rain in it, you're going to have a miserable time. But yeah, it's an interesting experience. That's for sure. Will I go back? I don't know.
I was there last summer, actually. That was the first time I went. I went solo and all that. And for me, it was a little tough dealing with like the 100-degree days. But
dude, man. Did you camp or did you stay in a hotel or what'd you do?
I camped at the Buffalo Chip.
Did you really? Oh, man.
Yeah. Yeah, we were lucky enough to go out to there. And I went out there solo by myself just to see what it was like. And I tell everybody, Sturgis is exactly what you think it is and so much more.
Yes. At the same time, and the thing is, little spoiler alert, I'm actually writing a book about that trip out there.
Okay.
But the spoiler thing about this is that while it is everything you hear about the rally, it's also a lot less than what you hear. You know, I've heard stories where it's you know, there's going to be a lot of trouble. There's going to be a lot of drugs. There's going to be a lot of gang violence. It's going to be a lot of, I heard a lot of negative. And
Sure.
a lot of the negative I heard was from people who'd never been, which was really odd. But yeah, man, it's an interesting experience. That's for sure. I mean, you stayed at the Chip, right? Now, I didn't. My first year there, I rented a Airbnb down in Rapid City, and which is great. It was really, I was super comfortable for a whole week. I had air conditioning. I had TV. I had a nice shower. It
must have been nice, Ted.
Wonderful. I had freaking internet. I could charge all my stuff every day. It was great. But I was also 40 minutes from downtown Sturgis, you know, so I had to ride that ride every day, but I was close to other stuff too. So that was good for that. But last year, 2024, I camped. I figured, let me do it both ways. Let me ride from my house here in North Carolina to the rally, stay in a nice place, and ride back. And then last year, I decided, let me trailer my bike and camp, and then trailer the bike back. Well, I camped at the Iron Horse campground just up the street from
just down the road.
Right? Yeah. And I wish I didn't stay there. I really wish I wish I either stayed at the Buffalo Chip, which, by the way, I found out later because Corey, who runs the Buffalo Chip, said, "Oh, you could have camped here for nothing." I was like, "Oh, I didn't know that." Yeah, so why?
Yeah, right. Thanks.
You're a media guy, and we'll let you camp here. I was like, "Oh, okay." In fact, I got an invite already. Come back and stay with us here. Stay with us here at the Chip. You know, we'll take care of your camping. Don't worry about it. And I'm like, oh, man, dudes, really got to torture me like that? So
yeah, right.
But I tell you what, now I don't know how your camping experience was at the Chip. My camping experience was totally different. I had no electricity. I had no running water. And so there was always this constant battle of, I got to charge my cameras. I got to charge all my phones. I got to charge everything. I was running the truck all the time. So during the day, as you know, 106 degrees, right? And then
a little toasty.
And then at night, it's dropping into the 40s.
Yeah. Yeah, you get the worst of both worlds.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was a hell of an experience though. It was I camped probably under like the only tree in the Buffalo Chip.
Me too, dude. Right.
So I got some shade. And then I parked, I was at let me put it this way, within eyesight, but not nose sight of the toilets.
Oh, geez, really?
So that was comfortable. Yeah. But I didn't have running water. I didn't have electricity. It was very rustic. Yeah. And I also camped basically right in front of the stage at Bikini Beach that doesn't have people playing until midnight.
Oh, no way. Really?
Yeah. It doesn't start until after the main stage closes at about midnight. And they play till, I don't know, 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning.
So you didn't get a lot of sleep, did you?
Not too much, but I was running on adrenaline and it was fun.
Yeah. See, now that makes me think twice about camping there. Yeah.
Let me put it this way. There's a bunch of other places to camp that aren't right in front of the stage.
Yeah.
You know, so you can find a quieter place than I was at. That was a rookie mistake. That's all on me.
Oh, okay. So I didn't know. It's all like, wow. Yeah. Cause I mean, I did ride through those areas. I would come in the back way and I'd ride through by Bikini Beach and all that stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like, man, you guys are packed in there like sardines, dude. I was like, oh my God. I didn't have to worry about that where I was camped. I had lots of room. Mm-hmm. But how are the showers up there?
They were fine, actually.
Yeah, they were good.
Yeah, they weren't too bad. I was able to clean up and get all the sweat off and all the exhaust and everything. So it wasn't too bad.
How did you deal with the electricity thing?
I usually went to like a coffee house for a little while every day and charged up.
Really?
And then I had a battery pack that worked. And I was just on the motorcycle. So whenever I would go out somewhere, I just charged my phone on the motorcycle.
Right.
And that was basically it. So it's kind of hazy though too, Ted. I'm trying to remember how I did it all. And some of it's a little hazy, but
Now,
I managed to make it work.
Did you ride there?
Yeah.
You rode so where'd you ride from?
Outside Chicago.
Okay, so you went straight shot 90 basically all the way out there, pretty much.
Yeah, and I was trying to get out there, so I didn't get a chance to take like the scenic route. I took a lot of the interstate.
Yeah,
and I was on a Yamaha XSR 900, so not a cruiser, no fairing, no windshield. Everything was packed on the back of that poor little motorcycle.
Is what you're saying.
Yeah, essentially, I did it. I made everything a lot harder than it needed to be, but it was totally worth it. So I actually can't wait to go back. I hope I can go back one of these days.
Yeah, I think I would go back, but I've said this before. People have asked me, "You going to go back?" And I would say, "Well, here's the thing. If I go back, it's going to be either in an RV and I'm going to camp in a nice RV, or I'm going to ride out and stay in another Airbnb. Either way, I'm not going to camp." And I'm not going to tent camp again. Well, I shouldn't say tent camp. I slept in the back of my pickup truck and I had a canopy over that. So I'm not going to do that again. I just won't. It's just, and I need electricity and I need running water.
Yeah. I think you get to a point in life where your days of sleeping on the ground or in the bed of a truck are kind of over, You
know, what's weird is, I'm not going to say back in the day, cause that makes it seem like, forever ago, but, I would go to mountain bike festivals all the time. And I would camp in a tent, for the 4 days with no trouble. But then again, I think about it. I didn't have to worry about charging stuff. There was that. I didn't need convenience. I just needed a place to sleep.
Yeah.
But now now you need convenience.
Yeah, you kind of do with everything that's electronic and has a battery. But talking about cycling, you are an avid cyclist. You talked about being a mountain biker.
Yeah.
Did that come before motorcycles or after?
Let's see. No, the cycling was well before the motorcycling. Yeah, I started. Of course, everybody cycles when they're in school and stuff like that. It's a different story. But I got serious about mountain biking, especially mountain biking, in the early mid '90s, and yeah. That was my whole life, man. That's what I was all about. I was like, this is great. I'm having a great time going to mountain bike festivals, and then I would do. Then I started getting into road cycling as well, and then I would do some benefit bike rides for multiple sclerosis. Multi-day events. It was great, and I still ride. I don't ride as much as I used to, but I still do ride. In fact, I got my bike is right next to me here in the office, and I get on it a few times a week. And yeah, it's a way to keep your health up,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And it translates great. And I'll tell you what, I've had a lot of people tell me that if you're a mountain biker, that translates really well if you want to get into ADV riding. Because I
can see that.
It's a similar skill set, which you kind of need.
Are there any similarities between the motorcycle community and the cycling community?
Yeah, the same thing that people in cars hate people on two wheels. That's the same consistent thing you can run across. I get it. Here in North Carolina, which is a very cycling unfriendly state, there's more motorcycles here than I think in New Jersey. But you have the same problems. There's this, I guess I don't want to say disrespect, but lack of proper respect, road respect, I should say. So, regardless, you got to ride with your head on a swivel as always.
Yeah. Well, that's speaking of the skills translating. Yeah. Being able to look around and pretend like everybody's going to kill you is a good skill to develop, I guess, while you're using your pedals as opposed to using the throttle. So
exactly. Oh yeah, man.
So, well, last question, really. What has motorcycling kind of taught you about life overall?
Pay attention. That's pretty much it. Pay attention to your surroundings. Life is more than just go to work and go home, because I grew up in that actual mindset, which was, it's kind of depressing when you think about it. The mindset when I was growing up was go to school, get a job, die. That was the mindset. And, go to work and just, do your job and, mind your own, minding your own business was a big thing too. But with motorcycling, it opens up your horizons a little bit more. It's to look around you, to see what's going on, to pay attention, because paying attention is very important when you're on a motorcycle. Because if you don't pay attention, you can end up very dead. So, that's what I've learned a lot about from motorcycling is it's a big world, and pay attention.
I love it. Well, Ted, thank you so much for being here and spending some time. Tell us where we can find the book. Tell us how we can listen to Motorcycle Men podcast and how we can find you.
Okay. The Motorcycle Men podcast is available on all streaming services, be it Spotify, Apple iTunes, whatever. It's what's it? What's it called? I can't remember. Anyway, whatever. But anyway, wherever you listen to podcasts, just search Motorcycle Men and we're there. Then I have my Ride with Ted YouTube channel. I generally try to put out one video a week. I've been kind of lax with that the past few weeks because of family issues, but new videos are coming. There's that. And of course, the book is available on Amazon and paperback and in ebook. And of course, the audiobook is available on audible.com. You can find links to get the book on the Motorcycle Men website, which is motomenpc.com. And of course, you can really get links to it pretty much in any one of our shows too.
And you narrated the audiobook, right?
I narrated the audiobook as well, which was fun in itself.
Cool. Well, Ted, thank you again. And I'm sure we'll talk again soon.
Yes. Thank you very much. I appreciate being on your show, man. Thank you.